Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
two certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only two best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go.
We're doing something brand new today.
More like I'm doing something brand new.
Yes, you are doing something brand new today that we will be introducing momentarily. But we have a couple of things.
I'll tell you why we're doing something new in a second. But before we get to that, I want to tell you about two things before I forget. One is just a reminder. We announced on Friday in our side chat. If you haven't listened to that, go back. Or you don't have to, but why wouldn't you want to listen to a new side chat? I can't really understand that. So but we talked about the fact that on October 8th, which is 2 weeks from now, we're going to be opening enrollment for coaching, one-on-one coaching again. And enrollment doesn't mean the same thing it does with a course where you just add it to your cart and you sign up and that's that. It more means we're going to be taking on 20 to 25 clients. And if you're serious about it and you want to talk to us about it, then we'll be having a conversation with you to make sure it's a good fit.
So you don't have to know 100% to sign up to have a conversation. But if you're seriously thinking about it, that's going to be your time frame.
Just know that it's coming. And then we'll get into more details as we get closer. But that's going to be happening. So think about it. This is not like an everyday occurrence. Okay. Number two, Kristen forgot that we're doing this. So she has literally no idea what I'm about to say right now, I don't think.
Oh, I remember now that you're saying that I don't remember.
Okay. Great. We are doing, this is really special. So I wanted to take a chance to talk about it. If you have ever been interested in becoming a coach, and I think some of you must be because you listen to this podcast.
I know some of you must be because a small percentage of people who reach out for coaching do so because later on they realize, oh, I'm attracted to this because I want to do it. That's why I was attracted to coaching. So it makes sense that we attract some of those people. So you might be one.
If you think you might be one of those people and you want to hear more about coaching, we are actually partnering with, we're not really partnering. They asked us, our coach training school, IPEC, which stands for the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, asked us to be the interviewees on a webinar for prospective students, so people who are interested in coach training, on Wednesday, October 2nd at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. There is a link in the show notes where you can register for that. And again, if you're seriously interested in learning more about the process and how we did it and a lot of misconceptions about what coaching is and isn't and what you have to do or not do with a coach training certificate, people think that means you have to quit your job and do what we're doing. It doesn't. So there's so many things that we want to say about it that we've never really talked about on the podcast or on a blog. So if you want to hear us talk about that, then you should come hang out and ask us some questions live because we'll be answering questions.
Yeah, if you have questions, we're going to be answering them live on that thing. So that's a really great way to not, you can always email us with questions like that, but we're going to be able to get into it a lot more in depth because we're having a conversation live on video. So it's a really, really cool thing. We've never done this before. I don't know if we'll do it again.
Probably not.
If you are really thinking about becoming a coach, we would love to see you there. We would love to pack it with some of our people because that would be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so do you want to tell people what you're doing today?
Okay. I might rant before I rant. Okay. First of all, I don't always like doing the same old same for years on end. It gets kind of boring. Second, I got to be honest, this is not a shock. It just gets challenging to always have a new 1,600 or 1,500 word blog that you have enough to say about it and you feel like you can fill that many words and make them good every month. Because so many of my ideas that I used to blog about now get turned into podcast episodes.
Yep.
So sometimes a bitch just wants to tell it like it is. You know what I mean? And here's what
Especially if her name is Rachel.
And sometimes what she doesn't want to do is have to think really long and hard about how to like tie it all in a neat little bow and give you 4 steps to get over your problems. I think sometimes it's good to just get fired up about something and to remind you of what's what and to slap a little sense into you. One of my favorite movies is Moonstruck with Cher and Nicolas Cage. And he's like, I love you. And she's like, slaps the crap out of him and is like, snap out of it. That's what this is. This is more me stepping into like Cher in Moonstruck as opposed to like calm and, you know, helping you bit by bit. I can do that. If you want answers, if you want solutions, if you want tips, go listen to any other podcast episode I've ever published
of content now. But this is Rachel's specialty. To rant and to tell the truth and to tell it like it is and to shake you out of your situation a little bit. Kind of like metaphorically grab you by the shoulders and shake you.
Stop it. Just stop.
That's Rachel's
That's
whole
what we're doing. Okay. And so for any of you who are thinking, I don't think any of you are thinking this, but it pleases me to think that there might be one person who's thinking this so I can tell them that they're wrong. If there's
another one of your favorite things.
If there's anyone out there who's like, oh, this isn't very coach-like. This isn't very professional.
In that voice, too, I hope.
Mm-hmm. Right, with like the topmost button of their collared shirt buttoned. And
their glasses down on the tip of their nose.
And their bun is very tight. Yeah, then what I would say to that person is, that wouldn't be very coach-like if it was all I did.
Right. If my whole
spiel was ranting, that would be dumb. And it would be
counterproductive,
unhelpful, and it would be maybe unhealthy if literally all I did was rant. But thankfully, it's not all that I do. It's a facet of what I can do. And I like getting fired up about things and firing you up about things.
Well, and frankly, I know a lot of the type of people who I coach, including myself, are not super comfortable with rage and anger and getting fired up like that. It makes us a little bit, ooh, wow, that's a lot. Well, it's very intense. And so it's good to give people permission to rant about things.
Yes.
In their own lives too.
Yeah. And like before you think that what you're going to hear in the next 5 minutes, because these are shorter, one cannot rant for 10 minutes without sounding like an insane person. But I mean, no promises that I won't eventually publish a 10-minute rant, but this one's only 5.
You certainly could, but
this one's only 5. But I think that don't assume what I was going to say is don't assume that you're about to hear me screaming. I'm not screaming. I'm just firm. I'm just a little bit like insistent, but I'm definitely not like you crazy mother effers. No, I'm not doing that so much, but don't test me. I might find a topic that I really want to do that for, and then I will.
Test me.
But yeah, I want to also demonstrate that you can get mad about things. You can get fired up about things. Sometimes you can just say, that's dumb, and walk the hell away. Like, that is fine. Also, one last thing I want to say about this is that I also brought in some very vague pop cultural references that about 2% of people might remember or understand. But that's also my jam, and so I'm just leaning into that.
And your weird trivia knowledge about random cultural situations and celebrity.
Cuts. Yes.
Celebrity.
That also
news.
happens here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's fine. And if you don't remember it, just Google it and you'll know that I'm right about what I'm talking about in this one.
She has a steel trap mind for really random trivia like that.
Yeah, not for, I don't know, geometry. That would have been helpful to remember. But nope, that all went right out. So I'm not even going to promise to do this every month. It's just when I feel like it. When there's a genuine subject matter that I think deserves ranting about. And so I found one this month. And I wasn't actually going to do it, but then I had a thought and I was like, oh no, I am fired up about that. So I'm going to talk about it. So what we're talking about is why being smart is not important. It's just not. And I'm going to save my rant for what I already recorded for you. Okay?
All right. Well, let's just jump in.
I see a lot of hand-wringing about not being smart enough. And truly, this whole obsession with being and looking smart is so, forgive me, but dumb. Dumb. Not because you're dumb, but because the whole damn system is rigged, people. From the time we're teeny boppers, we're bringing home report cards, these very one-note pieces of paper that tell us in an overly simplified way how smart or not smart we've been in the last 9 weeks. Getting a good grade means you're smart, and a bad grade means you're dumb. And smart people are the only ones who get into college. Smart people are the only ones who get the top internships and jobs that most of them will hate in a matter of years or months, by the way. Trust me, I know, because I've coached those people. I'm tired of people being so worried about their smarts when traditional intelligence only goes so far. I've met plenty of incredibly smart people who had next to no common sense or ability to manage their life or ever get anywhere on time. Being smart doesn't mean you have empathy or creativity. It doesn't say much about how you treat your friends and family. It doesn't even say anything about the kind of choices you'll make, because good choices usually come from a place of emotional intelligence, not IQ. Also, if you're worried about being smart, it probably means you're not dumb. I don't think that truly dumb people are worried about not being smart. They either realize they're not that gifted in that department and have long since accepted that fact, or they don't realize it and just don't spend that much time thinking about it. It's classic, but the people who worry about seeming smart are the ones who already are fairly intelligent. I also don't think being smart is a reliable indicator of success. One, because if you're in a traditional job, it's actually really hard to get fired. People who are mediocre at best keep getting promoted. You know this person. I know this person. Haven't you ever been in a government office or any corporate environment or talked to any manager of any business at any time? And to bring it back to emotional intelligence for a minute, did you notice that time? This is going to be so random, but I promise I have a point. Did you notice that time that the Gap tried to rebrand its logo? Please Google it if you haven't. A lot of smart people with fancy degrees thought that was a brilliant idea. Yeah, this clip art from the early 2000s sure was going to revitalize an entire brand. We cracked the code. Or that Kendall Jenner Pepsi ad, you know what I'm talking about. Truly, how tone deaf can you possibly be? Someone with at least a master's degree signed off on that. Multiple master's degrees, I bet. Doesn't matter how accomplished or intellectually astute those people were. The failure to recognize how those decisions would land with people was a big lapse of emotional intelligence. And far more often, those are the type of smarts you need. I mean, really, how intellectually smart do you actually need to be to get by in life? If you know how to use a calculator, you can compose a decent sentence with the help of spell check, and you can type questions into Google, you're probably going to be fine. Being able to understand people and, more importantly, yourself, that's way more valuable. And on top of that, far more critical to any kind of traditional success you may be seeking is consistency, determination, and creativity, none of which require you to be the person in the room with the highest IQ. I'm not even saying you have to be the hardest worker. God knows I'm not. But people who make it, whatever you want that to mean, keep showing up. They play a long game. Rather than worrying about what's happening today, they've got their eyes on some future vision. And they're creative about finding new opportunities and workarounds. And they're not shy about trying things even when they aren't sure how it's going to work. Do you know what happens to people who are overly attached to identifying as smart and who are convinced the world would implode if everyone around them didn't know with 100% certainty how smart they are? They don't take a lot of risks. They play by the rules because they're too afraid of losing their status and reputation. They also sign off on ads that deserve to be kept in a special vault of stupidity for future generations to mock, in the same way that we now side-eye flat earthers. By the way, Kristen once got messaged by a flat earther on a dating app who claimed to have a PhD. I mean, obviously he was lying about the degree, but I sort of hope he wasn't because it'd be so deliciously ironic. So please, go forth into the world with your calculator and your spell check and your ability to Google things. Lean hard on your creativity and your determination, and trust me, it won't matter that you aren't the smartest person in the room, because you'll be the one having the most fun, getting the most done, and probably laughing all the way to the bank.
Okay, well, if any of you are feeling a little shaken up, that's a good thing. Not that, we all need that from time to time.
I really doubt it. It wasn't that bad.
Well, no, it really wasn't.
It's like kind of mild for me, to be honest. Like,
it's a different tone though than we normally give. So that's
it's a very much like an over it tone. And I usually save that for small moments in podcasts, or I don't really have it in blogs.
Instead of the meat of it.
It's literally the whole thing. It's just, I'm over it. I don't care. This is stupid. Let's just move on from this. Yeah.
So good. That gives you permission to just not care about that anymore.
Let's just not. And say we didn't. Okay, moving on.
So looking forward to some future Rachel rants. You don't know.
I already have a list of things I want to rant about.
You never know when you're going to get one.
Every day.
It's not going to be on a regular basis. It's just going to be as a treat from time to time.
Yeah, one can't rant too often without looking, again, like the person on the street corner muttering to themselves. So I don't want to like give off that vibe. Exactly. I also thought about how this is like, please forgive me for what I'm about to say. Clarity on Fired Up.
Oh, no.
It was terrible.
Oh, no.
I know. I thought it, and it was terrible, and I regret it. But
and I like a good pun and a good play on words.
I know. Okay.
Someone out there will enjoy that, though. They'll get a chuck.
Most people will groan and be like, I can't. The secondhand embarrassment is so strong. Okay.
Okay. So reminder, if you are interested in potentially working with us one-on-one, then just be aware. You don't have to do anything yet, but just be aware that in a couple of weeks, we're going to be alerting you. Okay, enrollment period is open. So we want to have some conversations with some of you who are interested in this. And also, if you're interested in potentially becoming a coach or getting trained as a coach, you might want to join us for that video webinar we're going to be doing. So there's some information and a link in the episode description.
For both of those things.
Yep.
For all of those things. Oh, look, there's the dog. You know who likes to rant? Scarlett.
She's really good at ranting.
Oh, yeah, no.
And she has strong opinions.
Very strong, especially about a couple of dogs in this neighborhood who are her sworn nemesis.
Oh, she hates them so much. And she normally is fine with dogs, but they are just the worst.
That golden doodle and that boxer, they can rot in hell for all she cares. They are just on her shit list.
Who knows why?
And you want to know what? That's fine. That's fine. You can rant about things. Permission.
I wrote a blog a while back that says it's okay if you don't like someone. And like, that's fine.
That's fine too. One day for my birthday, maybe next year, I'll have Kristen record a rant episode where she has to rant about something. And it'll be the funniest thing on the planet because she can't be mad for more than 30 seconds. She just can't do it.
I'll rant and then I'll just turn out to be like, well, but it makes total sense because of this.
Yeah,
and
but you'll be
actually, it's not so bad because of this.
Well, he's a meanie. Like, he's not nice. Like, wow, really stinging him with that.
But I'm sure he's actually a really good person.
Oh my God. I can't. Like, it's just so womp womp. All right. So
I know I'm terrible at ranting.
Okay. So we will see you on Friday with an interview with an expert. Actually, this is a repeat guest, but
she's now coming on as an expert.
It's like, what? So we had Francisca Hernandez. Oh, this is good homework assignment for you guys. We had Francisca Hernandez on the podcast last November as a normal person interview. She has a really interesting story about how she literally almost died. And then that caused her to have this whole revelation about what she wants to do with her life. And at the end of that episode, I was like, I'd like to have you back at some point to talk about what you do. And so now, almost a year later, we're having her back to talk about meditation. We're having a meditation-centric episode.
I've been wanting to have this conversation with someone on the podcast for a while now, and I can't think of anyone better than Francisca.
She's just one of my favorite people, and she's very approachable, and I'm planning to ask her about things like, what if you can't meditate and you've tried and it's the worst thing in the whole world, and you were like, I know I should do this, but I just can't with it.
So if any of you have tried meditation and you're groaning to hear us talk about that topic, it's not going to be, we have to sit on a pillow like a Buddha and breathe in and out loudly. We're going to be talking about real life meditative practices.
Like how to do it and actually commit to it without wanting to die.
Yes. Yeah. And all the different forms of it, because it looks very different for different people.
Yeah, there's not just one kind. So anyway, we're going to have her bust some limiting beliefs about meditation and hopefully help us be able to incorporate it into our lives in a sustainable way. That's the goal anyway. So we'll see you on Friday with Francisca. And your homework is to go back and listen to her interview from last November if you haven't yet, because you're going to like that.
You will. It's a good one.
Bye.
All right. See you then.